All right. It is Sunday, the 4th of August, 2019. We're just about three quarters of the way through the year 2019. I have no idea where it's gone. All right. Is anybody here for the first time? Never seen us here before? I want to welcome everybody, including those who come back for multiple servings. Hi, Narav, Irving. Yeah, great. Thanks for finding us. Disclaimer: basically, trading involves a risk of capital. Make sure that you know what you're doing before you jump in. Just a little bit of background about myself. I will post this online at YouTube, so you can see a little bit about and I'll post the link here in just a little bit. Hit Run Candlesticks. Stand by for a special offer at the end of the presentation. Give you an opportunity to try us out. Agenda: we're going to go over the earnings calendar, the market review, trade ideas. Then I'll go into a little Q&A on not stock specific items, and then if we have time permitting, I'll look some of your stocks out there. We may or may not have that because I have a little bit of a time compression tonight. So I need to kind of wrap it up before about 9 o'clock. So I'll talk fast. Everybody pin back your ears and listen. All right, here's the economic reports. I go to econoday.com, and on the economic reports, I usually only look at the ones that are red and green. Occasionally, I'll add one that is black, like the PMI services I added, and I had Redbook here. That shouldn't probably be there. On Monday, we do have ISM, and 9:45 and 10. We got Jolts at 10 again after the market opens. I love to trade the petroleum quote every week. Scalp 100, $200 out there on those. Jobless claims, wholesale trade, and nat gas. I'm not as thrilled with the nat gas report as it was a number of years ago, but it's still labeled as green. And the PPI is out at 8:30 on Friday. I did post out the earnings list. I'll do that again here for. Let's see what we got here. Here's the earning list for the week. It is basically the last big week of earnings is this week. It starts to tail off, and then we'll get back into the doldrums a little bit between. All right, market overview. Let's spin this puppy down. All right, let's go over. I start with crude oil. And crude oil, let's back this off to a 6-month chart so we can see what's going on here. We were up, riding upwards until April, the end of April, and then right now we are in a downtrend. I can see this, we're kind of bouncing along. We made a couple of higher highs and higher lows, then we kind of did an equal low, or a little bit lower low, sorry, and then looks like we're transitioning back down to a slight downtrend. I am basically seeing, let me get that recording. Okay, here we go. Try to get my pencil going. I'm seeing that as basically a downtrend, and we came back into the downward channel. This was just an excursion down well below, and now we've come back up into the channel. I'm going to need to see a break above that channel and probably come back and retest before oil is a longer term trade for me. Let's see here. Gold, we're up at 1450. Gold took off at around the 1st of June. We've got a couple of traders in our room that like to trade gold, and if we went to a 9 month chart, you'll see that it hit the 1400, came back to the 1280s, and then started up again. Okay, let's go on over to the major markets, the S&P 500. This is the S&P futures. You can see we're doing a continuation of the down. I use my stochastics RSI to help me judge momentum and when it might turn. Right now, we are at a level here at about the 29.15 level that we could make a bottom. More than likely, we're heading to 28.85, the line down here, which just so happens to be, what is this? I think that might be, there's the 50, it might be the 200. It's too flat a line. Probably drew that. Okay, but the volume at price level here is about 28.85. It's possible we could do a little dipsy doodle around the 50 and then probably try to attack that. It's my opinion. Like it's very, very late in the game to be shorting the markets. Individual stocks, maybe. You're gonna When we get over to the individual picks, you're gonna find I have more longs than I do shorts, primarily because most of the shorts you should have already been in, and we're probably gonna have to watch for bounces and then think about going short. The Dow looks a lot like the S&P. I think it probably goes down to this 258.75 area, something like that. And NASDAQ could try to come down here to the 76.15. These lines that you see out here, it looks like skyscrapers sitting on their side. This is a volume at price. I use 7733. We'll get into looking at the stocks on TC2000. I'll go over it in a little more depth if you need to. But each one of these, especially with the indices and also with the major large stocks, we tend to bounce from high volume to high volume. So if we drop below this level here, we'll probably drop to the next level. If we drop below that, we'll drop to the next level. On the opposite side, on the way up, when we bump up against these act as resistance, act as resistance, act resistance, and act as targets. You're welcome, Bob. Russell. Russell is probably the weakest index we've got out there, has been for quite some time. It never really participated with much of the rally that happened. VIX. VIX-A-Rooney, we had a big spike up here in May, and then we kind of settled down to the 12 spot again, and now we spiked up to the 20s again. We go from everything's okay, oh my God, the sky is falling. Oh, everything's okay. Oh my God, the sky is falling. It's just, I basically say it's just bipolar, if I can get away with saying that. The markets don't seem to see any fear, and then suddenly we get these massive flash in the pan type of things. All right, let's go back to the presentation. Well, trade ideas, I said we would have some more longs than shorts. And we are in earnings season, so I caution everyone that before you get into a trade, look and see where earnings are. Some of these that I'm going to talk about tonight have earnings this week. They're setting up, and if the earnings are well received, they could get a big pop. All right, so that's why I've got them, but it's also, I made note to myself so I don't go jump in on it early in the week when earnings on 8/8 before market open, BMO. All right, but it's set up for a good one. Could you run this up for a couple of days? This is a roundabout breakout. It's possible. Do people want to bet and hold earnings? I am not a betting person. I'm not a gambler, so to speak. I want more. You don't have any sound. Hold on a second. Okay. Yep. Um, red. Whoops. All right. I just tried to help her. I can't talk to her. I had to actually enter it. Okay. Another one we've got here is BGS. BGS already had its earnings, and this is why it's basically changed its direction. We've got the possibility that it's broken the downtrend. And all of these that I'm talking about today are not necessarily buys on Monday and Tuesday. Like this one, I'm going to see some sort of movement up, maybe here, establish the new high, and then pull back and establish a higher low. And I want to buy somewhere around that turn back. If it runs and runs and runs, so be it. But this one's set up for a possible J hook, where we would go up here, we pull back a little bit, and then start our way back up. And then down in here is the area that I want to go long with a very tight stop. All right, let's look at CHRS. Now this is one that if it breaks 2050, it's probably going to go up here to 23 and a quarter or higher. This did this move with an extremely weak market. Its earnings aren't until 11/14. It has good volume and good volatility intraday. However, it does move 5% in one day. So make sure that you can stand. One of the things that you stand the volatility. One of the things I see a lot of people do is they'll jump in a stock like this and they'll set a tight stop, but it's inside the average true range. So what will probably happen is that they're going to get taken out intraday, even though nothing has changed. So each of these candles, you need to be able to give it probably in this case $3 or more, maybe down below Friday's low. The only way you could get around that maybe is drill down to a 60-minute chart. And I don't see anything maybe that I could hang my hat on about 1880 here, but probably 1775. All right, let's go look at another one. Another one out there is EPC. It has earnings on Tuesday morning before the market open, but it's really well set up. This one I would wait, and I'd wait for a pop. Hopefully the earnings, it goes only about 34, and then we could get a run up here to the 40s. All right. FND. FND's one that I could pop early. November is the next earnings date, and it could run up here to 48 or so. We've got a $3 or $4 run if we could follow through from Friday. This massive reversal on Friday. This is a bull kicker because we had a negative candle on Thursday, and on Friday it totally wiped all that out and then ran up to resistance. If it goes over to the 44 level, this one could set itself up for a 45-degree run towards this $48 to $50 level. All right, so people say, oh, well, this has gone too far. Well, if I had time, I could show you time and time again where a lot of these that do these reversals like this, especially on an earnings or earnings related play, ones that flow straight to the bottom line, they run to the next level. So watch it. And what's the worst that could happen? If it gets down here to 43, I'm out. And one of the good ways to play those is on an option, so you define your risk. All right, the other one is, well, that's a short. Loco is another long. It had, you can see where the 50-period moving average tells us roughly where we were in the downtrend. It looks like it's broken the downtrend, and what I'm going to want it to do is I'm going to want it to come up a little bit higher or go sideways and pull back or go sideways, establish that higher low, and then looking for the breakout and run to at least 12 and a quarter. Mastech, MTZ, up here, all-time highs. Now this is one where it ran on a huge volume on Friday. This is the one that's also set up for a 45-degree runner. And what I do with that, it could take a couple of days. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you that you basically, the buy zone is somewhere in here and maybe down a little bit lower than that if it does a pullback. But if it does a continuation move and stays sideways, I could go long anything over the top of this wick here with my stop below where the close was on Friday. Also, I could potentially go below, depending upon what happens here on Monday. If it goes down a little bit lower, I could use the low for the next 2 days as my below that for a stop. Oxy's been bouncing up against this 53.75, and if oil can stabilize and come back, this one's really set up. Oxy Petroleum has really been holding up well despite the fact that crude oil has gone down. So for me, this is showing a lot of strength. Another one in that area that was shown a lot of strength up until now has been Phillips 66. This has gone up here when oil was going down. That's relative strength to the nth degree. Now, the reason it's no longer on my watch list is because of what it did on Friday. We sold out. Okay. Redfin. Redfin over this 1983 level probably goes up to the $23 level, but it probably won't be on a straight line because we're going to run into resistance over here to the left. But maybe a 30 to 45 degree run and pull back. Say something up to the resistance levels, pullbacks, kind of a zigzag. Aggressive traders can go long as soon as it gets over about this 1985 level. More conservative traders can wait for the pullback and wait for the curl back up to J hook and then go long with with a stop underneath the low of the pullback. Texas Roadhouse. All right, Texas Roadhouse. Again, I will let everybody know I am an extremely short-term trader. I have extremely low commissions. I can get in and out quickly, and if I could also get in and have a very tight stop. And if I have to get back in, it doesn't hurt me. I'm looking for this to do a retest of this $58 to $59 level. Notice it got up and filled the gap and then pulled back. Well, I'm thinking that we're going to at least this 58.80. Now let me show you what's on the hourly chart. And I look here and I go, okay, what it's going to run to is this 58.68 level. That's what my test, if it pulls back a little bit here and it curls back up, this would be an excellent place to go long with the stop a little bit below wherever the low is. All right. Weight Watchers. Unfortunately, Weight Watchers has earnings here on the 6th. I think it goes back up here and retests this $27 level, but there's no way I can go long until after earnings, and then I'll have to see what it does and whether it's still a buy or not. If it gaps up way too much and gets up here into this resistance level, that actually wouldn't be a bad thing. If it's way below it and they've got a little bit of overhead, I have a problem. XPO over this 71.65 or so, looks like it goes to at least 79 and maybe even higher. The shippers have been on fire. Don't ask me why. Maybe everybody is trying to bring in or have been bringing in all their goods before the tariffs take effect. I don't know. Maybe they're bringing in Christmas goods early. I have no idea, but it's all something's being reflected in the shipping stocks. All right, let's go back up to a couple of these shorts. I have three: Alexan, NVA, and VMW. ALXN, if we do a break below 110.50, we most likely go below, down to 100, and of course there will probably be a pause, maybe a little bit of bounce, but my target ultimately be around 95 to 96. So this biotech is in a bit of trouble. You can see the longer term, top, lower, equal high, lower high, lower low, equal low, lower low. This was in a little bit of a quandary here, but then it broke to a lower low. So I define uptrends as higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. For a downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. Well, it does move 3.5%, $4 a day. I don't play these with anything other than options, so I define my risk, but you're absolutely right, Greg. They are not for the faint of heart. INVA, another biotech. Now this one's got a beautiful inverted J-hook going here, and I'll show you this with, let me go over here to INVA. All right, you can see how the thing bounced and got up to the volatility stops, and it looks like it's rolled over. My stochastics RSI is now pointing as if it's going to go lower. And let me show you a little trick on Thinkorswim. If I put a minus in front of it, it'll invert the chart. Does that look like a bullish J-hook? Well, actually, it's inverted, so it's a negative J-hook. If people have trouble seeing it, you may want to put a minus sign in front of the symbol, and it'll help you visualize it just a little bit better. Whoops, let's go over to there. Okay, INVA. Now, I look for at least a retest of 11. You're welcome, Greg. But it hasn't been this low in a long time. You know, we're talking back here in 2016. So this one, I have not looked at the options. That's kind of the way I'd play it. Shorting an $11 stock is not necessarily where I think I'm going to make a lot of money. So I don't know. This may or may not pan out. I have not had a chance to check about that closely. But the pattern is there. If you can do nothing more than recognize this pattern, if you see it, do an inversion version of it and verify it. Okay, and the last one I've got here for shorts is VMW. I hate to say this, but VMW is one of my long-term favorite charts. But as it gets down to 161.5, it looks like it wants 145. And you can see how we have transitioned from the uptrend here, a little bit of a downtrend. It got slammed in earnings. We've got earnings coming up on the 22nd. I think people got a little bit optimistic here, and then something happened on Friday, and people said, let me out of here. We've got 3 weeks to run, a little under, and it looks like I would love to have actually a bounce up here, similar to what we had in the prior chart, and come back down. And that can be on a 60-minute chart. It can be on a daily chart. I don't care. I swing trade 60-minute charts just as well as I do daily charts. Okay, let's go back here. All right, I said stick around to the end. This is somewhat near the end. There's a 60-day trial offer for each of hit and run candlesticks and right way options. I'll give you the link here. All right, if you want to try it out, it's $49 to each of the two rooms. That's, less than $25 per month. And two months is it says 30-day offer here, but it actually is 60. That is an excellent deal, and gives you a long enough period of time for you to get to know each of the two rooms. All right. Right Way Options obviously focuses primarily on options, but I know a number of people that are there and do swing trades and do stock trades out of that. Okay, thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. I need to update my charts here. And I was just thinking about that myself. Okay, I'm going to open up for questions, no stocks, general questions like we had earlier when Greg was asking about what stochastics RSI that I use. RSI period 7, stochastics period 7, percent K3. Some don't use percent D or percent K. They only have 3. If you only have 3 parameters, use 773, and I use simple moving averages on those. All right. Any general questions? Dave S. wants to know, how can you tell how much a stock can move in percentages? Well, first of all, I tend not to use percentages as much as I use as you say, I'm talking about forecasting stuff. All right, but let's talk about Alexa. Okay, these right here are calculated the average true range, and this is a percentage of the average true range as a percent of the stock price. So if that's what you're asking, that tells me that that's how much it moves in a day. Some people will try to extrapolate this $4 move and figure out what it does. Right, thanks. Okay. Let's see now. Next question. What study am I? Joe wants to know what study I'm using in my upper chart in Thinkorswim. And I'm not sure what you're talking about. There are a number of studies there, Joe. This one right here, the skyscraper sitting on their side, that's volume at price, overlaid with the candlesticks. Okay, and then I use a 8 and 17 exponential moving averages to help me visualize the trend. And what I will also use, it's easier to see here in MTC 2000, I've already got it. I'll use the 8 and the 17 exponential moving averages to help view where we are in the trend. And when we get, there's a downtrend, and this is saying it's trying to change. Loco, I said it's trying to break the change, but one day does not a change make. It's going to take 2 or 3 days to actually change that. CHRS, pullback. Let's go to the daily. It's going to take a couple of days to really change those. Okay. Narav, Ed already answered your questions. When I get out of an option, do I submit a market order? Bob, I usually only trade in the very high volume options, so therefore there's a lot there. I'll go on to I'll go to my active trader, and I'll place it. Normally, I'll try to put it in between. Let's pick out. Let's pick out Starbucks real quick. I'm just going to pick something out at random. Not saying it's a good buy or not buy. Just going to get something so we can actually talk. All right, this is the Starbucks options, and this was on Friday. And what I would do is if we were sitting at 61 and 15 here, it shows me that the average and the mean would be right in here. I'd probably put it at 173. How do I figure out my stops on options, still, Dolores? Actually, I look at the actual stock symbol. So in this case, I'd be looking at the stock price, and so this would move from about 90 up to 99, did a pullback. If I go over here to my TC2000, which will make it easier for me to show you and draw. Did a move up here, and we've done a pullback. That's approximately a 50% retracement. I can do another, I'll just use the quad lines real quick. Each one of these is on the quadrants. Each one is 25%, and I eyeballed it at 50%, and it was pretty much right there. If it goes much below that, it'll probably drop all the way down and fill the gap. If it goes below that, it'll probably only go up and retest the top. So I like it to hold 50% or less retracement. Now remember, the market has been selling off quite a bit, and it's only done a 50% retracement. Now what I will do is I'll show you that I've been in Starbucks for a while. I traded it off of this May pullback. It did this. I did my Fibonacci calculations, and I said, you know what? I think it's probably going to go at least. So what did I do? I said it was going to go at least up here to 79.60 and retest the prior swing, and it did that in spades. Then I had a 1.382 and a 1.618 expansion. So this is Fibonacci expansion. It's the retracement flipped over, and this one actually did a very, very nice run. If anybody private messages me, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'll be happy to answer any questions in the main chat window. Eric says, it looks like you several long picks that just gapped up. How does that factor into your choices? Well, let's BGS. Well, I like to see where it is. I have a I have a YouTube video on trading gaps. Let me get over there. I'll give you, okay, this YouTube channel is also where this is where the recording from tonight is actually going to be put later tonight. I'll render it and post it up. Any of the presentations that I do are here. Go over there and then look at videos. And then I got a bunch of look aheads, but look at trading gaps. This one right here. And I'm going to try to take that 4-second thingy out. I'll take out the time. All right. That video right there will talk you. It's an hour long, and I talk about how I trade gaps. And basically what I'm doing when I'm trading gaps is I'm trying to figure out, are they gapping up to resistance? Are they gapping against the most recent trend, which in this case it was? And then after the gap up, I can day trade those or I can swing trade those. Obviously, day trade, you would be looking at 5 minutes or less. This one, I like to use an opening range on all of them. So this one, the only long I would have possibly gone was up over the top of that opening, 20 bucks basically. It wouldn't have run very high. That one wouldn't have run. A lot of times in this first 5 minutes is where you're going to get most of the money made. I will let it go for 3 to 5 minutes. If we're in a good market, I'll be happy to jump in on a 2 or 3 minute chart as we get new highs. If we're kind of iffy, I will make it break a 5 minute chart high. All right, and most of these really haven't knocked my socks down for day trades. Okay, this wasn't a gap up. Not a gap up. There's a gap up. Notice how it got there, and it took a while. It took a while to get up there and get over the 5 minute opening range. It did get it, and then failed. Then it came back up and rallied, but it failed again. The markets were really kind of knocking it down. But eventually it got into a power move in the middle of the day. So, all right. Bob wants to know how I scan for stocks. Well, I have some scans in TC2000 that I use after the market is closed. But during the market day, my go-to scanner is the LTA scanner. Let me, I got it here. Live trading alerts, LTA. This is by far the best scanner that I've run across in nearly 20 years of trading. I used to pay over $400 for one that was less capable than this and not configurable. This one is extremely configurable, and we can set it up, and we have a whole bunch of scans that are already pre-canned in there that are extremely good. And I can sit there and watch these come up. If we were a live market, I could show you the scanner in action. But if you want to see it, Monday through Friday during market hours, come to this room, no password, room 3. Ed Carter will be here if you have any questions. But what I would strongly suggest you do is go to LTA. There's some tutorials if you wanted to use that, and FAQs, frequently asked questions. Ed's done a fantastic job of basically covering all that. You could go through this, take a look at it, watch the scanner, go ask Ed here at room 3 about it, and give it a shot. Like I said, that's how I use my scanner during live market hours, primarily the LTA scanner. And then the other thing is, what's time in room 3? I think probably from about 9:30 till about 4. He's here now. He also has other work to do in trades, but if you pop your way in, you'll basically see, you'll ask a question, he'll come in. He's monitoring in and out. Yeah, he watches for questions. He's excellent in that regard. What period ATR am I measuring? Okay, The average true range that I'm measuring is a daily average true range. All I want to know is how much it moves daily over a 14 period average. It's a 14 days. Now it's 14 trading days, which is about 3 weeks. That's it. That's an odd number to pick, I know, but I found that ATR formula out there on the net for TC2000, and I did not want to go through the hassle of modifying it for a 20 or 21 day period. So I like pretty much the 20-day period, which is a month of trading, 4 weeks. So I like that pretty nicely for most things. And this is close enough because all I want to know is, does it move enough to meet my criteria? If this only moves a nickel or 20 cents a day, I'm not interested in it. I need it to move to make money. So I want, and here's the thing, I also want to know a percentage. If that percentage can get too high, it can get too low. If it's 4%, 80 cents could be 4%, or it could be 40%. If it's a really cheap stock. All right, so I want to monitor those, that these warn me, one, that it's volatile enough to trade, or two, warns me that it's too volatile. Kimberly, I'm not sure that I do. My Fibonacci, let's go back to Starbucks. Okay, if I want to set up the Fibonacci's, we're talking about, are you talking about retracement or not? Mine are the same but flipped. I'm going to do this as far as the retracement. I'm just going to grab numbers. I'm not grabbing it properly here. Just eyeballing it. Let's do this one. And that one, so it gets us. You can see that the Fibonacci retracement from this thing on Friday, 23%, it's 23.6, 38.2, 50, and 61.8. Those are my retracement numbers. In my expansion numbers, I use 100, 138.2, 161.8. But I also threw in this 78.6 number because a dear departed friend of mine pointed out to me how well it worked sometimes, so I've used that as well. So I use that in my expansion numbers. Okay. So where's the market going this week? Who the heck knows, Bob? If I knew that question, I probably wouldn't be here telling you about it, but maybe I would. But the whole idea is, with interest rates going back down, we're liable to just go in any different direction. TLT's on fire. TNX --X. Kaboom. And this is we're down to 1.85% on a 10-year note. I did not believe when we got back over here up over 3 that we would see 2 again. I really didn't believe it, but here we are. They just got to keep pumping money, free money into the markets. The Blue Study, TPO, VPO, is this on Thinkorswim, Joe E? Or are you looking at, it must be Thinkorswim. You're talking about a study. Let's take away the active trader. Let's zoom out. Okay, so the blue line here is just the 50-period moving average, I believe. Let me go under studies, edit studies, 50, blue. This is the 100, the dash line there, and the 200. A lot of times, yes, Dolores, there will be a video posted to that YouTube channel later tonight. Okay. But CRHRS on Greg is a lower low. Might be right. Whoops. Well, CRHS, remember what I was saying. Those were lower lows and lower highs. But what's happened? We've had a break of that downtrend. What I'm looking for is a move up, an establishment of a higher low, and a change of trend. That's why I have this on the list. I want to potentially find stocks that are at the early stage of a run. This is changing has a potential for changing the trend. And it's doing it when the market is weak. So this is uber strong. Okay. Dolores wants to know what do you figure out stops on options? If I was in an option trade, all I look at is the price of the underlying security, be it Starbucks, be it any of the other stocks that I've put, and I use, well, somebody wanted to know where I went long in Starbucks. Basically right here. When we gapped up that day, somewhere around there, I'd have to go back on my statement, and I was looking for a retest of this high at a minimum, go up to that. If it got to there and then failed, I take partial profits on these and let it come back. These was with a number of options contracts, and they ran up here, and see how this basically rides up the 8 on a closing basis. It got close to breaking, and it got at this 100% around $85. It kind of got my attention. So I took off partial profits here at 79 and a quarter or so, and right here just under 85. And I still have 2 contracts left. And I'm watching it like a hawk, and I gave it a little bit of room here. Now, when it got a gap up there and did the pullback, I sold a couple. So I had 4, down to 1, down 1, and now I've only got 2 left. Well, this is nothing more than what Doug shows at every day and every week. Come join us there. And I think you guys might be in for a treat. Doug just told me that our trading room 2 is going to be open free tomorrow. Okay. No password required. Okay, yeah, there's the trading rooms, and go to room 2. Thank you very much, Ed. No password required tomorrow. So come in around 9:15. Doug will be on the horn. I'll be in the room for a bit. Mondays are always a bit hectic for me. I'll be in there as much as I can. I know Ed will be hanging around, and get a free glimpse, which you don't normally do. And so tomorrow, give it a shot. We do not have hit and run candlesticks open. Everybody from there will be in. It'll be all one happy group, and we'll be talking stocks and options tomorrow in room 2. No password required. All right, let's go. Do I use Kimberly's? Already got that. Barry C wants to know, how do I analyze option trades before placing an order? How to answer that quickly. First of all, it's got to be a good stock and a good pattern and show a good trend. I want stuff to be in an upward trend to go long and a downward trend to be going short. And then you get into the specifics of how to do the analysis. And I'm going to tell you that you go to right way options on the tube. Let's go here. All right. Go to right way options. There. Okay, whoops. Oh, sorry, I posted it twice. I was a little bit behind. And look through his videos, and he has all of his morning prep. You can sign up for that. Those are free. He tells you about things like how to improve your trade timing. That was one of the current, most recent members e-learning. We have that twice a month, and you'll find a whole bunch of these in there. He has on his website, on our website, the education. Let's look at, I'm going to do a member login. I'm going to go over here. Hold on. I'll give you my don't give you my login. Okay. All right. Right way options. Wait a minute. I'm gonna. It's trying to come up. It's just thinking about it. Okay. In there, in the members page, that's where it is. He goes to the morning videos and the earnings archive, plus the options basics. That is where it basically shows us how do we use Thinkorswim, at least I use Thinkorswim, to actually do the options trades, about what the deltas you were looking for, what open interest you're looking for, what strike price, how far, a number of days you want to trade, all those. But if you're in the room, you can ask those questions live. All right. And we go over trades in depth. At least Doug does for us. Okay. Rickster wants to know, what do you see in a stock that makes you see, could say around 45, where do you, or when enter, PS I've seen and called these 5 times with some pretty good results. Okay. Thank you. I'll be honest with you. I borrowed this from oh gosh, what's the guy's name? The mentor for Rick's mentor. I was in his room years ago, 10 years ago. Big chubby fella. Anyway, he pointed out that stocks would do 45 runs. I figured out that a lot of times, I figured out a lot of times stocks that gapped up on earnings and against the grain. See, the most recent trend was down below, and this gapped against it. And Loco basically did a bullish kicker. Again, these are all on earnings. This is an impetus for saying all these people right in here were thinking it's going lower. Some of them are short. Then suddenly they're going to have to start covering. So not only are people looking at it that have never been in it before, but the people who are short this are going to have to cover. And I also look to see if things have a high short interest ratio over, say, 10%. And where I get that is I go to FinViz, look at the stock, and look at ownership and see if the float's over 10%. 10% or more, I consider as reasonably high short interest. Another area is shortsqueeze.com. All right. We basically eat up all our time here. Tom, did you get the purchase date right here on the Tuesday the 4th of June for the buy date? Thank you. Dan, you last question looks like here. How do you combine TOS and TC2000 charts in my presentation? Well, are you talking about, I have Thinkorswim and TC2000, and I'll have charts up here. I don't have them in this presentation, but I use them both. Each have their advantages and disadvantages. I can tell you that I use TC2000 to do my watch list management, and I use Thinkorswim to do the execution. So each has its advantages and disadvantages, and basically I have a complete toolbox. LTA scanner, I have TC2000, I have Thinkorswim, I have two different brokers, Thinkorswim plus Interactive Brokers, and that answers one of the questions I think that someone had. And I use NinjaTrader for drawing charts as well. All right, so again, you need a full toolbox if you're going to be a pro. Robin, room 2 tomorrow. McDonald's. Yeah, that did a pretty decent trend. It does need to continue and break out to new highs, though, or this one could be setting up for a rollover. I could say that aggressive traders could go long here, but watch to see that it actually makes new highs. If it gets up here and makes it equal to slightly lower high, it could be changing itself to a downtrend. Bigelow, yes, Stephen Bigelow. Learned a few things from him about the J-hook and whatever, but I've modified them. And that's the whole idea. You need to take ownership of your own trading style. I have taken and modified it to fit my needs for shorter term trading and the fact that I got what I thought were better results. I don't wait for the breakout of the J-hook. I anticipate that I'm going to get a retest of that swing high, and that's my first target. Yes, Bob. Nice. Okay. I'm not going to. I don't want to encourage. It's 9 p.m. I said I had to be out of here by 9, and I said I may not be able to get to your stocks. So I'm not going to actually do it because I'll be here another 20 minutes or more. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hope to see you guys. Yes, John, I was. Stephen Bigelow. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hope we get to see you guys there tomorrow. Just remember, I am going to post this to the my YouTube page tonight sometime, as soon as I get it rendered. And we hope to see you guys around the flagpole. Take care. Come on in and visit.